Advocates for historic preservation must strike a delicate balance, facilitating sensitive progress while protecting our authentic past. When done well, preservation fosters an indelible sense of place. Without it, our built and natural environments are irredeemably lost. Agents of change have used collaboration, entrepreneurship, and innovation to build popular support for preserving our historic buildings, districts, and landscapes, building a better New York State. One organization, one community, and one building at a time.
Many struggle to find their true calling, but sometimes your calling finds you. Franny Eberhart and her husband were married in the Church of the Holy Trinity on the Upper East Side, and her daughter was enrolled in nursery school there. When the building needed urgent repair, Franny joined the fundraising committee, and the rest, as they say, is history. She enrolled in Columbia's graduate program for historic preservation, and upon graduation began working for the New York Landmarks Conservancy as the manager for public affairs. She got a crash course in civics during the New York City charter revision efforts of the 1980s that gave the City Council the power to ratify landmark designations, a victory for landmark preservation. In 1992, she became the first paid director of the Historic Districts Council and worked with neighborhood advocates to extend the benefits of historic preservation to New York's outer boroughs, districts like Jackson Heights and Douglaston in Queens, and St. George, New Brighton in Staten Island are just a few places where preservation prevailed. Her longest tenure was with the Friends of the Upper East Side, and among her many victories was the expansion of the Upper East Side Historic District to include 2 sections along Lexington Avenue between East 63rd and 76th Streets. The neighborhood includes 5 other historic districts: Carnegie Hill, Treadwell Farm, Henderson Place, Metropolitan Museum, and Hardenberg Rhinelander. Many of these neighborhoods tell the stories of immigrants who came to New York in the late 19th and early 20th century. There are now 7 historic districts and 128 individual landmarks on the Upper East Side, including the Park Avenue Historic District, designated in 2014. Franny continues to work with the Historic House Trust and the Municipal Art Society of New York, speaking up to preserve the quality of life of New York's neighborhoods. In addition to the cause of preservation, Franny lends her voice to So Harmoniums, a not-for-profit women's choir she became a charter member of 12 years ago. The voices you're hearing are some 60 women, representing 3 generations, bound together by the enduring magic of group singing.
Thousands of years ago, the Lenni Lenape tribe hunted and fished in the lush forests surrounding the Ramapo River. In 1738, Dutch colonist Wynand van Gelder purchased a plot of land that would later pass to Stephen Sloat, for whom the village of Sloatsburg was named. Enterprising settlers leveled and widened the Indian Trail through the Ramapo Pass, which became the New York to Albany Road and eventually the Orange Turnpike, and homes were expanded into inns to accommodate travelers. But with the construction of the New York State Thruway and Palisades Parkway, Sloatsburg fell by the wayside. Then along came Michael Bruno, an internet and real estate entrepreneur. He had already restored a number of significant New York properties when he visited the area in 2012. He bought a 12,000-square-foot mansion in Tuxedo Park, designed in the early 1900s by John Russell Pope. He then acquired an additional 55 acres of park-like property adjacent to the property, designed by famed landscape architect Frederick Law Olmsted. Inspired by the nearby Sterling Forest and Harriman State Park, Michael soon had a vision for Sloatsburg's historic buildings. As a passionate collector of historic homes and a dedicated land preservationist, he is creating a gateway to recreation, relaxation, and all that's special about the Hudson Valley. The historic Route 17 corridor between Sloatsburg and Tuxedo is the site of a transformative real estate venture, Valley Rock. A collection of buildings and landscapes with a new urbanist feel and a focus on health, recreation, and walkability, the charming resort features an inn with rooms to rent situated within 4 rehabilitated historic homes, a market and a garden cafe featuring Hudson Valley produce and products, and the Valley Rock Bike Barn that outfits guests and visitors with manual or electric bikes to tour the surrounding Harriman State Park along the beautiful Seven Lakes Drive or the cycling trails of Sterling Forest. Additional amenities will include an art gallery and bookstore featuring local artists, a fully equipped fitness facility, pool and spa, as well as a restaurant and bar. Whether traveling by car, train, or bike to the Ramapo Mountains, travelers will once again find a warm welcome and historic accommodations along Route 17, thanks to Michael Bruno and Valley Rock.
From a one-man shop in 1966 to a force of 170 with offices in New York, Washington, D.C., and Boston, Silman has long been considered the go-to structural engineering firm for projects of all types. One of the most dramatic was the restoration of New York's Solomon R. Guggenheim Museum. Shrouded in scaffolding for 3 years, the Frank Lloyd Wright-designed icon of modern architecture underwent a technically and aesthetically outstanding restoration. Cracks in the exterior walls called for a monitoring plan to determine the movement of this complex structure, laser scanning to document the building's unusual geometry, non-destructive testing and material testing to determine the building's construction, and development of a finite element model of the building's main rotunda. Following the building assessment, Silman completed structural repairs for the comprehensive restoration of the museum's exterior. Silman also played a leading role in the restoration of another New York icon, St. Patrick's Cathedral. The design team was charged with integrating new audiovisual systems, inserting glass doors and walls to open the cathedral to Fifth Avenue, while maintaining quiet spaces for worship, and updating and improving fire protection and mechanical systems. The project was staged to allow the cathedral to continue to welcome some 5 million visitors each year. Ultimately, more than 35 stories of scaffolding shielded pedestrians, reaching 330 feet above the sidewalk at the iconic towers on the west front. The multi-phase renovation included the upgrade of the entirety of the cathedral's interior and exterior, including a comprehensive review of the condition and stability of the 300 decorative architectural bosses that grace the vaulted plaster ceiling and make up the Garden of Heaven. For more than 5 decades, the firm has shared its considerable talent with hundreds of efforts across New York State, including the New York State Capitol, Darwin D. Martin House, the Stone Barn at the Shaker Museum, Mount Lebanon, Olana, the Vanderbilt Mansion, and the Nathaniel Rogers House. Grassroots projects supported by the Preservation League, like the Kimlin Cider Mill in Poughkeepsie and the John Green House in Nyack, have also benefited from Silman's expertise. After participating in more than 23,000 projects, Silman has a well-deserved reputation as an industry leader for applying emerging technologies and concepts to new architectural works and the sensitive modification of existing structures.
In their own ways, tonight's honorees have served as agents of change by advancing the cause of preservation. By fostering connections, defying skepticism, and embracing new ways of doing things, they have made great strides in protecting, preserving, and promoting New York's architectural heritage. Their achievements in facilitating thoughtful change and in stewarding our legacy for future generations will inspire future leaders. They truly are pillars of New York.